Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Arc podcast. Today, we're going to be going through and talk about Giannis. I mean, might as well. These trade rumors are heating up as they do kind of every year, but it feels as if this year it has a little more traction than years prior, including Giannis mock trades. We're going to be deep diving into winners, losers, the best possible landing spot for him, as well as some sneaky teams that might get in there and get in the mix to possibly make a case to trade for him. On top of that, afterward, we're going to go through and just talk about NBA trade block. Big teams, big players, whole 9 yards. So stick tuned for that. Without further ado, let's jump right on into this. First off, let's just start. If you do enjoy this content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on your favorite Giannis destination. Let's have a conversation in the comments. I love it. I love responding to y'all's comments, doing that whole 9 yards. But let's deep dive right into Giannis. So, we understand that Giannis has been a little frustrated in his past with the Bucks, with them not providing a championship quality team. They've been able to previously with trading for guys like Drew Holiday, or even attempting to make rosters better that aren't necessarily that great, and going and acquiring guys like Damian Lillard, or even this offseason they went and got Miles Turner. Kyle Kuzma was an addition. So although that they are making moves to attempt to keep Giannis and keep Giannis happy, is it enough? So let's live in this hypothetical world where, let's say, December 15th rolls around, which is that trade day that opens up and a lot of teams can make calls and everything. You know the Bucks are going to be, answering the phone. They're going to listen to what they can get. Also, they're going to listen to what return, right? They've given up picks, they've received picks, that whole 9 yards. So first call that the GM of the Bucks picks up the phone and he's like, "Hey, what you got for Giannis?" The Atlanta Hawks, they say, "Hey, we want Giannis and we want Cole Anthony. In exchange, we'll give you Trae Young. We'll give you last year's first overall pick, Zachary Ricochet. We'll give you the Pelicans 2026 first round pick." This is unprotected, and the Pelicans are not good. This being a pick that the Pelicans are literally looking right now, they are currently the worst team in the NBA at 3-21. So with that, you have odds of possibly getting an AJ DeBonsa, a Darren Peterson, a Boozer boy, somebody like that. And you get Trae Young, and you get last year's number 1 overall pick. On top of that, they're going to sweeten the deal by giving a 2027 first round pick, which is top 4 protected, via worse of the Pelicans and the Bucks, right? So let's say the Pelicans are super good this year, or this upcoming 2027 year. The Bucks are bad because they're in rebuild mode after trading Giannis. They get pretty much their own pick back. That's huge. 2029 first round pick on top of that. That's top 4 protected and unprotected in 2032 if not conveyed, right? And to end it, a 2031 first round pick. So basically, Trae Young, Ricochet, 4 first round picks. And that's a decent offer. So Bucks GM, he's going to be like, "All right, let me see what the market's on the table for." Because Trae Young and Ricochet, it's an interesting offer, but is it enough to trade Giannis? That's the big question, is what is Giannis's worth? And not even what is Giannis's value, but what are teams willing to pay for Giannis? Because although the Hawks can offer 4 first round picks and Trae Young, is Trae Young a future building block that you can really see the future of the Bucks organization taking? So let's see what else is available. And also, these 5 trades are from ESPN.com. These are just mock trades that they came up with. So next trade up here, I got the Houston Rockets getting Giannis and Thanasis. So the brothers going together, that is kind of a good thing if you're doing Giannis good. If you're doing good by Giannis, you send him and his brother away, because then they can play together. So the Rockets get the Antetokounmpo boys. The Bucks receive Sengun, Fred VanVleet, and a 2027 first round pick unprotected via the Suns. Now, just like I talked about with the Rockets, why you would do this if you're the Rockets, you go and get Giannis, of course. Giannis, Kevin Durant, Amen Thompson. That big three right there, huge. You still have Steven Adams for some center depth. You have Reed Shepherd. Fred VanVleet's injured for the year anyways. So if you're the Rockets, you make this call because you're like, we don't love the fit of Sengun, KD, Amen Thompson. We say, hey, we think Giannis can put us over the hump. And Giannis and KD kind of work very well together. On paper, they would work very well together. One able to stretch the floor quite a lot, and one able to rim run and just bully his way to the paint. So one takes the defenders away from the paint, one brings the defenders to the paint. It's going to make the defense a little tough. So, why you would do this if you're the Bucks? You got to love Sengun, right? Fred VanVleet's whatever, that's to make the money match. And he obviously hurt his leg. He's out for the season. So you're hoping that he makes a good return and probably flip him in the future. That 2027 first round pick could be interesting, unprotected via the Suns. I don't think that they're going to be that bad, especially with this year. We were thinking that the Suns were going to be at their worst, at their rebuild point, especially after trading KD, Bradley Beal moving on, DeAndre Ayton's gone, obviously all that. They're a 7th seed, though, with Dylan Brooks and Devin Booker. They might be buyers at the trade deadline. So I don't necessarily think that first-round pick's super valuable unless Devin Booker's like, bro, I don't want to do a rebuild, trade me. Then sure. But that's a pretty big risk that we have yet to hear any sort of thing from. I think Devin Booker's going to be a Sun for life. So I would say that the Hawks trade is definitely above this. But if the Bucks are super about Alperen Sengun, also it just doesn't really make sense that they would have Sengun and Miles Turner together. I don't love that pairing there. Would they work together? Sure, but you're paying a lot of money to two centers. So I think that the Bucks would be like, nah, Hawks offers better. So, and of course, this also has to do with where Giannis wants to go, because I would assume that the Bucks would do good by Giannis to save face, because who knows, he might return. Damian Lillard, we didn't think he'd return to Portland. Here he is. All right, next team. This has been rumored quite a lot every year. Giannis has said if he leaves, he would want to go to New York. So the Knicks, they pick up the phone. They're like, yo, we want Giannis and Jericho Sims. We will give you Karl Anthony Towns. We'll give you Pacome Dadiate. I don't know how to say his name. And Tyler Kolek. On top of that, 2026 first round pick, top 8 protected via the Wizards. Otherwise, if it does convey, it goes to 2 seconds. 2028 first round swap, worse of Bucks or Trailblazers for the Knicks. 2030 first round swap, worse of Bucks or Trailblazers for Knicks. And then a 2032 first round pick swap. If I'm the Knicks, obviously I'm doing this deal. You're keeping guys like OG, Jalen Brunson, obviously you keep Josh Hart. Mitchell Robinson is still here. It doesn't really feel like you gave up a lot. And I understand that they gave up a bunch to go get Mikal Bridges. But if you're the Bucks, at a bare minimum, I want Cat. To get a return for Giannis, obviously you need to make the money match. But theoretically, the deal needs to be super exciting young player, picks, money match, right? An exciting young player was Ricochet. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. They had 4 first-round picks there for the Hawks. And Trae Young for Giannis. I just don't love this deal. I don't think the Cat to Trae Young value, even if you were to say they're pretty similar on where they stand in the NBA, everything else, right? Ricochet compared to, those other players that the Knicks give up, And then the picks of the Hawks are way more intriguing than the picks of the Knicks. So I wouldn't even consider this either. We're just going through what ESPN has to offer. Spurs. Now this could get interesting. Victor Wembanyama and Giannis together. So the Spurs, they call the Bucks. They're like, yo, give us Giannis. We will give you back Stephon Castle, Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk, Jordan McLaughlin, and a 2027 first-round pick, which is via the Hawks, 2029 first-round pick, 2032 first-round pick. Now, 2029 and 2032 first-round picks are probably not super valuable to you, unless like Vic or Giannis were to get injured, right? But you, of course, don't hope that, or that's not likely to plan. The 2027 first-round pick via the Hawks is extremely interesting, especially if they trade Trae Young away. That is something that they could theoretically tank. I don't think so, because they're playing actually pretty decent without him at the moment. But, who knows? Stephon Castle, of course, is a super intriguing piece. But I don't think that the Spurs trade him. And also, if you're the Bucks, you hope to get Stephon Castle and one of the other young assets, either Dylan Harper or even I'll take Carter Bryant, right? Because I like Carter Bryant's game. Defensively, it's there. Offensively, it needs a little bit of work, but I think you can get there. So now you have a core of Stephon Castle, Carter Bryant, Miles Turner's in that mix. You'd probably end up moving off of him. You're just consolidating pieces, and then you get that 2027 first round pick from the Hawks. I like that. Do I like it more than the Hawks assets? It's close. I do think it's close. Because of that 2027 first round pick and Stephon Castle, those are the two most valuable pieces there. I still give the edge to the Hawks because right now, Trae Young, Ricochet, and that Pelicans pick are super. That would be the bulk of the trade to get Giannis. And I like that more. Because we're talking, this could be a potential number 1 overall pick, and then you have future assets attached to that. This almost screams like Paul George when he got traded for 5 picks, and then they got back a ton of assets in return, the Thunder, and look at them now. That's what this could end up being like. Now, if you could get like Stephon Castle and Harper, that might intrigue me more if I'm the Bucks. But of course, this is also theoretical of all these teams are laying out these deals in front of you, and then you're the Bucks and you make the decision. So, I think I'm hanging up the phone on them. I'm being like, yo, unless you can throw in Harper or Carter Bryant, we don't got a deal kind of thing. This has been rumored a lot throughout the years as well. Not only the Knicks, but also the Warriors. So, ESPN, I don't think that this is the trade that they would do if the Warriors were to make this call, but ESPN has Giannis and the brother, Thanasis, the Bucks receiving Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, a 2026, 2028, 2030, and 2032 first-round pick. So you get 4 first-round picks. You get Jonathan Kuminga, a young piece, and then you get money matching with Draymond and Buddy Hield. Now, the trade I think that they would do would be something similar to this package, except take Draymond out and throw in guys like Pods and Moody. Now, that's a lot you're giving up if you're the Warriors, but you're keeping Giannis, or you're keeping Jimmy Butler, you're keeping Steph Curry, and you're keeping Draymond, which theoretically is your core right now. Kuminga clearly doesn't fit it. They both ends, both parties with the Warriors mix are just not involved or super wanting to work with one another with Kuminga's party and the Warriors organization as a whole. So let's say they did do this trade straight up. Draymond, Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and the 4 picks. What you would like about this is right now, the Warriors are currently sitting at an 8 seed. You would assume they would go up with Giannis, right? Getting into that 5-4 range, theoretically, even more possibly. We know Giannis and Curry are prime together. You don't have a lot of depth if you're the Warriors. And that's been their issue, is depth. Now, if you're the Bucks, this might be the second, this is pretty close with San Antonio. But the thing about this is Curry's 35, 36, something like that. He doesn't have too much longer in the league. 2 years from now, he'll be 37 to 38, somewhere right around there. That's something to look at because he might not be playing in 2028, let alone 2030 or 2032. Now, it makes the picks a little less valuable, the fact that you're giving Giannis, who keeps the Bucks team afloat. I mean, in the East, the Bucks are currently sitting as the 10th seed with Giannis carrying the squad. Now, the West is tougher as of right now, as of today. Who knows what 2028 or 2030 or 2032 look like, but theoretically, I don't know. This ESPN writes right here that this would be a Hail Mary for both teams. I don't think the Warriors give up on Draymond. I don't think that they're going to do that to him. I think he's going to end his career as a Warrior. I just don't see him in a Bucks uniform. You know, I feel like sometimes you got to picture the player in the uniform. He just doesn't scream Bucks. I could see him in like a Thunder jersey. I could see him in even like a Lakers jersey. I can't see him in a Bucks jersey. So I think that I would be like, yo, Hawks, Spurs, I like those offers better. I do have some other ideas, though, here of some other intriguing teams and other intriguing packages that could potentially happen for Giannis. So we're moving over from ESPN to Bleacher Report now. Bleacher Report. Lakers get Giannis and Thanasis. Bucks get Rui, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, first round pick swaps in 2026, 2028, 2030, 2032, and 2031 first round pick. I'm hanging up the phone. But if you're not, like, you're getting like Ricochet, Trae Young, and abundance of picks. You're getting Stephon Castle and abundance of picks. Why would I want Rui, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber? I don't want those. Dalton Connect, sure, cool. He's worth like a second now because of everything that happened last season. The pick swaps, you're going to have Giannis and Luka together. This is not going to be worth anything. You're not going to be swapping nothing. 2031 first round pick, you're still going to have Giannis and Luka together. I don't like that. So I would hang up the phone. So, next team would be I have another package here for Giannis going to the Trailblazers. So Giannis and Thanasis go to the Trailblazers. The Bucks get Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, Scoot Henderson, 2028 first round pick, which is Milwaukee's, 2030 first round pick, which also is Milwaukee's, and a 2032 first round pick. This is because of the Damian Lillard trade, right? The first round picks they would receive back. The reason that you would do this is because you would control your own destiny with your own picks rather than relying on other teams to be bad. You get Scoot Henderson, who was a top 3 pick at one point. I have a very bad thread that sits online that states that I thought Scoot Henderson was going to be the best player of his class. And it's the same draft class as Victor Wembanyama. So yes, obviously it was a regretful take. Looking back on it, hindsight's 2020. But genuinely, I thought Scoot's elite point guard play reminded me of like John Wall. I watched him play and everything, and it just kind of showcases that the G League Ignite wasn't really all that. I mean, you got the Thompson twins out of it, sure. And you got maybe Kuminga is something. But who knows? Maybe Scoot just needs a fresh start. You get Scoot. So, like, with that, you are probably going to be bad in 2028. You're probably going to be bad in 2030. And Portland, who knows what they look like in 6 years. Dame will be retired. Giannis, who knows if he stays. So I kind of like this deal. I still think that Hawks one is top tier. But I understand if the Bucks were to go this route because they would control their own picks. And that might make sense. Other than that, let's talk NBA big trades. Right? Let's just go down, talk about some of these stars and where they potentially could land. Right? Of course, Giannis's mix could be in this. But some of these trades are not, they're going to include some of the same players, but they're not going to be going to the Bucks, if that makes sense. Let's start with Jonathan Kuminga. He is somebody, and this is from Bleacher Report. This is Jonathan Kuminga at number 10 being the most intriguing players that might get traded before the deadline. Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, and a 2026 first-round pick and a 2028 first-round pick swap to the Nets for Michael Porter Jr. If you're the Nets, you do this in a heartbeat. You get 2 top 10 picks in Moody and Kuminga at one point. You get Buddy Hield for money. That's just money matching. You get that top 4 protected pick from, Golden State, which is whatever. But you get that 2028 first-round pick swap, which could be good. And all you're giving up is Michael Porter Jr. that you flipped Cam Johnson for him and assets. So you're then flipping him again for more assets. I would take that deal. If I am the Warriors, I think this is a bit of an overpay for Michael Porter Jr. I understand he's been balling and everything, but I think that a lot of players would play very well on the Brooklyn Nets, if I put it lightly. It is a place where you're not going to win a lot of games. It doesn't really matter. Michael Porter Jr. has the green light to kind of do whatever he wants because he's one of the best players on the roster right now. So I think it's almost bait, if that makes sense, that Michael Porter Jr. is putting up these phenomenal numbers and everything. I just see him as the Nuggets role that he had was perfect for Michael Porter Jr. and I think was the prime position on a championship team for him. That is exactly where he would need to be in order to win a championship, is a role like that, where he's not the number one option, where he's just kind of this bucket. He scores when he needs to. But, if you're the Nets, you do this deal 1,000%. Nicholas Claxton, Brooklyn Nets, to the Celtics for Anthony Simons and a 2026 second-round pick, 2027 first-round pick, top 5 protected. If you're the Nets, who knows what 2027 looks like for the Celtics. It's a year away. I would assume that the roster's pretty similar. I don't think that the first-round pick would be too valuable. But what I will say is this is a pretty decent haul for Nicholas Claxton. You get a young, exciting piece in Anthony Simons. And then 2027 first-round pick. Let's say in the offseason that the Celtics blow it up. They're like, yo, Jaylen Brown, you're just not him. You're not the guy you're not our number one. Jason Tatum is still rehabbing. So they trade Jaylen Brown for whatever. Right? And I'm a Celtics fan. I kind of like this for both sides. For the Celtics, I like it because you get that center if you keep the core together. We understand that the roster itself screams the need for a center. Neemias Queta is playing starter minutes for the Celtics. He's not the long-term piece. Nicholas Claxton, though, could be. He could fill that rim-running position that we kind of need. Need the rebounding and all that. And you give up Anthony, who, he's cool, but doesn't scream Celtics future. He doesn't look like he fits. When the roster would be fully healthy, he doesn't look like he'd fit there. Ja Morant is next. Ja Morant traded to the Raptors for Emmanuel Quickley, Grady Dick, 2026 second round pick via the Lakers, and a 2028 first round pick, top 3 protected. So this would mean that your core is Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Ja Morant, and Jakob Poeltl. That's a pretty solid 5. Does it fit super well together? The Raptors struggle to shoot the 3 ball at times. Ja Morant's not a great 3-point shooter. Grady Dick is one of your better 3-point shooters. Emmanuel Quickley has been turning it up from the 3-point line. So you're giving up something that you struggle at. I would be concerned about that, but who knows? I would assume at that point, if you're trading for Ja Morant, you probably are making another trade with centered around RJ Barrett, and that's probably where you go get your 3-point shooter. A 3-point shooter, I mean, if you could go get a guy like a Derek White, I mean, it's not going to happen, but like Derek White would be a good fit alongside Ja Morant and Brandon Ingram. A guy like even Drew Holiday. I know I just said 2 Celtics right there. I wasn't even thinking that route. But Trey Murphy would be pretty solid there. Herb Jones, even pretty solid there as well. The 3-point shooting, 3-and-D kind of guys is what I was kind of getting at. So if you're the Grizzlies, Emmanuel Quickley, Grady Dick, and basically, a second-round pick and a first-round pick. I think that you could get a better offer elsewhere. I mean, Emmanuel Quickley, Grady Dick, second-round pick, first-round pick. It's not a bad offer, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies liked it and they took it. But I think you could potentially get more, especially from a team like Sacramento, who loves to chase names, the Lakers, who have Dalton Connect and a first-round pick in 2031. The Mavericks need a point guard. Who knows what they could offer? But I don't think... I feel like you could get a little more out of a team. Even if you threw in another... I don't know if he's worth another second on top of that. I also don't know the value of Ja Morant. Because of everything that's kind of happened this season with the drama, that whole 9 yards, is he really worth a lot? So maybe this is a decent package for him. It's not... I wouldn't be surprised if both sides accepted this. Next up, Daniel Gafford. I've got a handful of teams that could really use a guy like Daniel Gafford. One of them, this article is having him traded to. It is the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Jared Vanderbilt, Dalton Connect, and a 2031 first-round pick. I think if you're the Mavericks, you take this deal immediately. I don't think you hesitate. I think you just take it without a doubt. Right? I love that for the Mavericks, because you get, like, Jared Vanderbilt is cool. He can rehab a little bit with this roster. You still have Derek Lively, Cooper Flagg here. Dalton Connect is a young and interesting piece, because I genuinely think he's got some talent to be something in the NBA. I just think that the Lakers have done him so wrong up to this point. He needs to get out of there. And a 2031 first round pick, which, yeah, it's top 3 protected, but I think you take that risk if you're the Mavs. The Lakers get the guy they want. They need another center alongside, to bring some depth behind Ayton, or even start him. But I kind of like this for both sides, honestly. I mean, losing Vandy, he's a decent defender, so I don't love that for the Lakers, but you got to give up something in order to get something in return. I do feel as if this is a little bit of an overpay for the Lakers, but the Lakers underpaid to get Luka, so maybe they'll return the favor by overpaying for Gafford. Trae Young to the Suns in exchange for Jalen Green, Nick Richards, Rasheer Fleming, 2027 first-round pick, and a 2029 second. I hate this for the Suns. I really do. I don't think the package you're giving up is bad. Jalen Green, Nick Richards, Rasheer Fleming, and the pick. But Devin Booker and Trae Young on the court together, I don't love. I don't think they fit together. I think defensively there's going to be a problem. Although Devin Booker's a sneaky good defender, and he proved that for Team USA. He is a sneaky good defender. But I also, if you're the Atlanta Hawks, you get Jalen Green, you get Nick Richards, Rasheer Fleming. I mean, it's actually a decent haul for Trae Young. I feel like there would be another bidder, though. the Mavericks. You'd have to call them about what they could give up for Trae Young, because they need a point guard. I mean, there's a handful of teams that probably, Orlando, you got to call them and see what they would want to do, what's up over there, because they kind of need a point guard and they need a little bit more offense over there anyways. So, and they have the defense to surround Trae Young. But I hate this for the Suns. I'm hanging up the phone for the Suns. The Hawks, I'm thinking about it if I can't get a better deal. That 2027 first round pick via Utah, Cleveland, or Minnesota, Utah's probably going to be bad. I mean, let's be honest. They're not going to be good in 2027. So that's not bad if you're the Hawks. This is a big one. I've talked about this one in many different videos. It is Domantas Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis to the Warriors in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, Trace Jackson Davis, and a 2028 first round pick that is top 5 protected. If I'm the Sacramento Kings, absolutely I'm doing this. You get Kuminga, Moody, and Trace Jackson Davis, and a 2028 first round pick. Who knows if Curry's going to be playing in 2 years? I think he will. It'll be towards the end of his career. But right now, the Warriors are what? I think I saw that they're 10. They're 8. They're an 8 seed, and they have Jimmy Butler, and they have Steph Curry. So the roster could be way worse in 2028. I like this for the Kings. The Warriors, I know that I think Sabonis could be a good fit there. Jimmy Butler, Draymond. But at the same time, though, does Sabonis want to go play with Draymond Green after he stomped on his chest that whole 9 yards? I don't think so. That actually has me thinking that the Warriors probably wouldn't even consider that. The Kings also are going to do right by Sabonis. So if they're going to trade him, they're going to trade him to a place that he's going to want. So Sabonis would have to say, he probably would have to sit down with Draymond and be like, what the hell? Talk it out, whole 9 yards. Maybe they've already done that. Maybe they've already squashed the beef. I don't know. But who knows? But yeah, if you're a Kings fan, absolutely you're taking this deal. Kuminga's an exciting piece. Moses Moody's been shooting the lights out of the 3 ball this year. Trace Jackson Davis played solid starting minutes for them last year, and you get a first round pick. I like that. Lamelo Ball, Charlotte Hornets. They trade him to the Wizards in exchange for CJ McCollum, Bub Carrington, a second-round pick in 2027, another second-round pick in 2027, a 2029 first, and a 2031 first. If you're LaMelo, you would hate this because you would go from one young upcoming team to another. I don't know if LaMelo would want to do that. I think if LaMelo moves off Charlotte, and obviously this is like, I would assume that Charlotte would be similar to like the Kings, where they would do right by LaMelo, and they would send him to a place where he kind of wants to go. LaMelo gives his list of 3-4 teams that he's okay with playing, and they would make it happen on one of those teams. And I don't think he would say the Wizards. I don't think he would be like, I want to go play for another rebuilding organization that hasn't won any games in the last 5 years. Versus he could get traded to, I don't know, like the Mavericks and go play with Cooper Flagg, that they actually have assets over there that would be intriguing, and they have a proven track record of actually making it to the finals with similar players on the roster. I don't know. I don't like this. If you're the Wizards too, like, it's not too bad of a pick of a haul, but at the same time, like, are you good enough to be giving up top 5 protected first round picks? The second round via Brooklyn or Dallas, the other second round via Golden State or Phoenix, whatever, even the 2029 first via Boston, Milwaukee, or Portland, whatever, those aren't yours. So like, that's kind of just extra. But that 2031 first round pick, you got to be damn sure that Alex Sarr and LaMelo is going to be something. Otherwise, don't give it up. At number 3, Trey Murphy. So Trey Murphy and Sadiq Bey to the Spurs in exchange for Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Carter Bryant, a 2026 second, a 2027 first via Atlanta, a 2028 second, and a 2031 first via San Antonio or Sacramento. I honestly like this for both sides. If you're the Pelicans, you get Carter Bryant, which I just talked about him earlier. I like his game. You get back your second round pick. You get next year's first from the Hawks, which just like I just said, they're looking to trade Trae Young. You get back your second round pick in 2028. And you get a 2031 first round pick that has the Kings tied to it. Who knows what the Kings are going to be like in 2031? They're probably going to be bad based off their track record. So if you're the Pelicans, you do this. If you're the Spurs, you need Trey Murphy's the perfect piece for you. I mean, yes, you give up some depth in Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan, but I think it's worth taking that. You also get back Saddiq Bey, who's not a bad piece by any means. I love this for the Spurs. I honestly love it for the freaking Pelicans. I think you get to see what Keldon Johnson really is. I think Jeremy Sohan, you get to really see what he is. There would definitely be some clunkiness, and this season already is kind of a wash. So there would be some clunkiness with Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Zion, Derek Queen. I would assume if they trade Trey Murphy, they probably are looking to trade Zion as well, seeing what they can get for him, and going, you can't say going younger because Zion's young, but you got to move off of him eventually, you would assume. I don't really know. But I kind of like it for both teams. I love it for the Spurs. I like it for the Pelicans. Because I don't think you're going to get a better deal for Trey Murphy other than that. Anthony Davis to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for Kobe White, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, a 2030 first-round pick, and a 2031 first-round pick swap. Honestly, Anthony Davis to the Chicago Bulls makes no sense in my mind. I understand he's the hometown kid, right? Bringing back the hometown kid. But are the Chicago Bulls really good enough at today's state, right? They're the 11th seed. Are you good enough at today's state to acquire Anthony Davis, who is an injury-prone guy, which take the injury-prone out, right? Because any player could theoretically stay healthy. We hope that every player stays healthy. So you're hoping that he stays healthy. And then with that, you're like, okay, we give up a young piece in Kobe White that we like. We give up a 2030 first-round pick. And we give up a 2031 first-round pick swap. So if Anthony Davis has any injury at all, you're probably going to be bad. And then even with a full roster of Matas Buzelis, Anthony Davis, Patrick Williams, freaking Ayo Dosunmu, is that competitive enough to make noise in the East? I mean, you would assume eventually they'll trade off Patrick Williams, but it's a negative asset. He makes way too much money and he's not productive enough. Matas is an exciting piece. I actually like him a lot. His game, it's getting there. I think he needs to put on a little more muscle, and he's doing that, and he's putting in the work. He's developing, and I'm liking it. But if you're the Mavericks, I actually really like this. Kobe White is your point guard. Kevin Huerter provides some depth. Zach Collins also provides some depth. You probably move off Gafford, just like, the Laker deal that we were talking about. You get 2 picks out of it, or a pick swap. So you're going younger. You're getting off of the Luka trade completely. You're recouping some assets. I like this. If you're the Mavericks, you're taking this deal. If you're the Bulls, I wouldn't do this. Josh Giddey, just Josh Giddey, Matas Buzelis, Anthony Davis just sounds so bad on paper. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. You're giving up picks for a guy that in 2030 could be retired. I don't love it. Last but not least, Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen to the Detroit Pistons in exchange for Tobias Harris, Jaden Ivey, Ron Holland, and a 2028 first-round pick and a 2030 first-round pick. I think both teams do this deal. Jaden Ivey, you proved last year that he isn't necessarily a necessity to keep. You can actually go win games without him, as you made the playoffs and you competed in the playoffs. Tobias Harris makes a crap ton of money, so he has to be in there to make the money match. Ron Holland is that young, exciting piece that Jaden Ivey and Ron Holland, young, exciting pieces that go make. It's kind of a lot, though, for the Pistons. Basically, 2 first-round picks and 2 more first-round picks because of Ron Holland and Jaden Ivey. Kind of a lot. Now, you are getting off the money of Tobias Harris, but you are taking on the huge contract of Lauri Markkanen. That feels like the Jazz for sure say yes to this. The Pistons would probably consider it. Maybe if they don't have to give up Ron Holland, they would do this deal because Ron Holland hasn't been playing terribly for them. But I'm just like, that's a lot. That is a lot for Lauri, who, like, the Warriors wouldn't give up pods for Lauri Markkanen. They're probably shooting themselves in the foot now looking back on it, but what's the value of Lauri Markkanen? I think it's similar to this package. It just feels like a lot. So, on the bright side, you keep Isaiah Stewart, you keep Jalen Duren, you have Asar Thompson, you have Cade Cunningham, of course, and Lauri Markkanen. I don't mind that. So, like, if they did this deal, I wouldn't mind it from either side. I think the Jazz would, at the end of the day, win the deal, but I would understand why the Pistons would do it because they're close, but they just need one more player to get over that hump. And especially this season would be the season to do so because you have an opportunity where you can go and actually make noise in the East really bad. You can tear up the Cavs. You could tear up the Knicks, right? Because if the Cavs don't do something this playoffs, they're gonna move off players. They are going to. There's no way they run it back again. If the Knicks don't make noise in the playoffs this year, they're probably also, they already fired the coach. They're probably going to also make noise in the offseason and make a couple trades, right? The Celtics are hurt. The Pacers are hurt. The Raptors are up and coming, but I don't think that they compete with the level that the Pistons are, right? So, like, realistically, you're already the 1 seed at 19-5. Do you think that you have enough? I see your biggest threats being the Knicks, the Cavs, and I would say probably the Magic. And they might face the Cavs in the first round. The Cavs right now are an 8 seed. I think they'll turn it around. They'll climb the ladder, but the Cavs are going to be tough, of course. If the Bucks sneak in there, they could be tough as well, just because it's Giannis. But yeah, I think this would be the year that you pull the trigger and you try and go get a guy like a Lauri Markkanen if you are the Pistons. But I would understand it. I would stand by the overpay because the Magic did it with Desmond Bane. Right, it was a bit of an overpay, but you went and got the guy that would really help solve. And they'll get there with the Magic, the shooting funk with Desmond Bane. They'll figure it out, I think. And they're also possibly exploring the idea of getting a point guard as well, which will help. But yeah, I think overall, a lot of intriguing trades. Let me know which one you guys found was the best in the comments down below, as well as those Giannis trades. I'm very intrigued by what Giannis traction heats up thus far. Maybe they do the opposite and they go pick up players and actually, because they've done it in the past. Like I said, Kyle Kuzma, Miles Turner, Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, etc. They have been able to make Giannis happy thus far. Can they continue that? So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Again, this has been another Beyond the Arc episode. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.